I am somewhat of a classic Tetris fanboy, and by somewhat I mean that I love watching people play Tetris at a high level. I myself can barely crack over 500,000 points, and level 29 is definitely a pipe dream, yet watching these unbelievable players like Joseph Saley and the late great Jonas Neubauer work their magic every year at CTWC makes me itch to get back into the grind. When that begins, the flame to that fire burns intensely and I can't stop playing. I then begin to sleep and breathe Tetris pieces. Although it is an addiction, I personally find it a beneficial addiction, as Tetris has done a lot for my mental health over the years. While you can get an emulator portable console to play NES Tetris, which is probably the best way to do it, I recently came across something that caught my eye due to how portable it looked. This thing. This is the Micro Arcade Tetris experience, and it literally can fit into your wallet. For those of you who haven't heard of Micro Arcade, the company sells a bunch of these like tiny palm-sized gaming machines with full game ROMs of many classic titles, from Space Invaders to Pac-Man. Nostalgic gamers have a decent variety of titles to pull out of their pocket at any time. While it is true that fundamentally someone could just download any ROM and play it on their smartphone, I personally try not to play Tetris without a physical controller, as I've noticed I do develop bad tendencies for stacking using touch controls. In timing games like this, a physical input is essential. How beneficial could that input actually be when it's so small that a button is barely the size of my fingerprint? I'm happy though to tell you that it actually still does make a world of a difference. Be ready to have hand cramps though, due to the awkwardly tight grip you'll have for longer sessions, because the surface field where you'll be holding the console is so narrow and small that your thumb input on the D-pad and the two buttons are awfully cramped. I could probably last about 15 to 20 minutes before needing to set this down and give my hands a break. The input of the buttons don't really give a lot of feedback as well, but that's kind of to be expected because it is that small and thin. One great thing for Tetris practice is the ability to hard drop, or instant drop of input. That's what it actually is. I'm excited to say that this has hard drop by pressing up on the D-pad. The great thing about this little gem is that it is officially licensed by Tetris. Take what you need from that. All I can say is that Tetris can run fluidly on very minimal hardware, and it runs exceedingly on this itty-bitty platform. Measuring at 3.25 by 2 by 3.75 inches, I wasn't exaggerating when I said I could fit this into a men's wallet. This is basically the size of a credit card and weighs about 3 ounces. It's slightly too thick to make a comfortable fit in that sit wallet, but it can easily slide into a chest pocket of a polo shirt or something like that. Portability and flexibility are the prime reasons why anyone would purchase something like this, as I will admit the display is just a tad too small to view comfortably for long periods of time. I would estimate that the display panel doesn't even occupy 1/3 of the device. It's narrow and sometimes difficult to gauge the line drop trajectory properly. I've misdropped more than I'd like to admit, simply because I couldn't distinguish whether my falling piece was on column 4 or column 5, and my hole was like in column 6. I've had to play much lower and allow the piece to drop closer to the stack in order to securely place it where I want it to go. Playing so close to the stack usually leads to more errors, but I guess for training purposes, my instant decision making has improved with the added pressure. I am pleasantly surprised at the LCD backlight and the color display. It isn't the sharpest thing out there, but the colors emitting from the panel are not too bad on the eyes. Can't really ask for more at $20. I was even more surprised when I flipped that on switch to be greeted with the classic Tetris theme song, the Game Boy version. As a licensed product, I guess Micro Arcade was allowed to throw that in there. Unfortunately, it stops playing in the background after a couple rounds of the chorus theme, but don't worry, it's not silent. Sound effects continue to fill your ears in its place. The audio works, and there is also a toggle switch on the top left that can turn it off for a silent experience. I'm more than happy with this setup for something this small. For such a minuscule piece of technology, you really don't need to charge it much. Honestly, it doesn't even hold much of a charge. I've had this for more than a month, and I've probably played 30 to 50 sessions up to like level 15-ish at a time, and I still have yet to plug it in. Out of the box, the micro arcade comes with micro USB to a USB-A cable with no charging brick. It's a simple little setup. I love just pulling this thing out of my pocket and having a quick session of Tetris. I've played this on like 15-minute car rides, a lobby waiting room, waiting in line for pickup, and of course on a toilet seat. I mean, who wouldn't play this on the toilet? Unfortunately, there is no memory on board to save high scores, but I argue that there is no need for that, as this isn't a platform you're using to set a world record anyway. This is an addiction patch. It's the equivalent of a nicotine patch. You just need to play all the time, so having something like this, you can just do it. It's also a practice gateway to improve strategies and stacking. I was honestly expecting a good laugh from this $19.99 MSRP product, but I actually had a few high-level runs on this. I honestly do believe that my stacking has improved in not only NES Tetris, but if my increased high scores on Tetris Effect is any indication, my IQ of the game has also benefited too, because I get more playing time with this little thing. The other day, my house was leaking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this. I'm a tech guy. I only know tech, so how do I fix that? And then you subscribed and you fixed it, so thank you.